Your favorite food's fighting you? Fight back fast with Tums. Calcium-rich Tums goes to work in seconds. Nothing works faster. Fights heartburn fast.
Actually.
Your favorite food's fighting you? Fight back fast with Tums. Calcium-rich Tums goes to work in seconds. Nothing works faster. Fights heartburn fast.
What can I get ya?
Chicken nuggets and fries, please.
Chicken nuggets, fries. Here are your nuggets. Fries will be right up.
Your favorite food's fighting you? Fight back fast with Tums. Calcium-rich Tums goes to work in seconds. Nothing works faster. Fights heartburn fast. Fight back fast with Tums. Calcium-rich Tums goes to work in seconds. Nothing works faster. Fights heartburn fast.
All right, everybody gets Tums tonight. Yeah, pass them out. Yeah, go ahead and pass them out. Everyone gets a Tums tonight. Tum, 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 tum. All right, have you ever had heartburn? Anybody have heartburn? Yeah, man. And these things are good, so you can just have one. If you have heartburn right now, sometimes, you just look at me and get heartburn. I understand. Man, my daughter made some cookies this week. She made chocolate chip cookies, and unbelievable cookies, and I just love them. And every time I eat this recipe that my wife has, and I eat these cookies, I just get terrible heartburn. But do you think that stops me from eating them? Not a chance. That's what they make these for. Yeah, I just, I love the cookies enough to know that, hey, I can deal with the heartburn, okay? And so we get heartburn in real life, but we're going to also talk about spiritual heartburn tonight, okay? And spiritual heartburn. But the problem is, one of the biggest things that gives us spiritual heartburn is relationships with each other, with people that are close to us. Relationships can cause a lot of heartburn. Has anybody had a heartache and heartburn over maybe broken relationships or relationships that are tough? And so we're going to be talking about heartburn in terms of relationships, okay? And none other, the little microcosm that you can actually see the most heartburn in a relationship is family members. Amen?
Amen.
That's why we're going to play. Have you ever seen that game show called The Family Feud? Mark Gibson television production. Ain't no one seen The Family Feud? Well, good news, we're playing tonight. Corbin, let's roll it. All right, everybody, yes. I'm going to need two families. I need a family over here that's going to come and play this game with me tonight. Reister family, right there. That's an easy one right there. You all come up. Reister family. We need to give them a hand, everybody. Reister family. The family, bring. You guys are over here, make some noise for the Reister family. All right, you guys are going to be against the DeWitt family, right here, DeWitt family. And you guys are coming up here, yes, DeWitt family. Absolutely, you guys are coming up here. Get up here. I guarantee it'll be all right. Get up here. Give them some encouragement. DeWitt family and the Reister family. Here we go. Anybody ready to play the Family Feud? Anybody play Family Feud in church before? See, I'm glad you guys came tonight. We're going to play the Family Feud. All right. I love that music. Just gets you in the mood. Okay, here's the deal. Okay, we're just going to go one round here tonight, okay? And there's going to be a question up here, and we need a scorekeeper. Do you need a scorekeeper? keep for us? Can you add up? Maybe use a phone app? Keith, maybe you got anybody got a calculator? Somebody keep score of this one and this team. And basically you get chances to guess, and we're going to try to see who can guess and make the most points. All right, so let's play the game. Are you guys ready? Yeah. All right, give some hand. Here's the top survey answers on the board. There's 5 answers on the board. Here's the question. And you'll each get a turn to answer this question. What is Pastor John's, can you guys all see that? Pastor John's favorite food. What's Pastor John's favorite food? So huddle up. You guys can talk amongst yourselves a little bit here. Let's give some cheering back there. We're enthusiastic. You guys in the studio audience here. All right, okay, all right. So, I was going to flip a coin, but let's just start out with the Reiser family. What would be your first guess here? Kuchen. Our survey says Kuchen. Oh, 14 points. Give him a hand. Is it that obvious? All right, DeWitt family, how we doing? How we doing over here? They took our answer. Oh, huddle up. There's more answers on the board. Top 5 answers on the board. Here's the question. What's your answer? Chocolate chip cookies. Top survey on the board is a chocolate chip cookies. Wow. Okay, Reiser family. Cottage cheese. Is it cottage cheese? No, it's not cottage cheese. What do you guys think over here? Nefla soup. Is it Nefla soup? Oh, no. What do you guys think? Come on. Sausage. Is it sausage? Yes! Give them a hand. Whoa. Come on, it was sausage. There we go. Yes, sausage. Okay. Reiser family's winning here. Okay, DeWitts, come on. Pizza. Is it pizza? No. All right, what do you guys think? Hamburgers. Is it hamburgers? Yes, it's cow. They are yummy. Top 2 answers on the board. You guys can take it. You're not out of the running here. What's the score? We got, I can't even add that. 30. Here we go. 30. You can take it in the first answer. Come on. Prime rib. Is it prime rib? No. What do you guys think? Is it hot dogs? Let me give you guys a clue. You got to think back on maybe, sermon illustrations or something like that. Chocolate carrot. Is it chocolate? No. Okay. Peanut butter and jelly. No, that was ding dongs. You guys supposed to. Awkward. Don't worry, you can't take it back. We're all in it. Okay. We give that to the DeWitt family, so we make it close. All right, you guys got that. That was close. That was chocolate. That was close to ding dongs. All right. Okay, what's you guys' next one? Last guess right here. Can you phone a friend? Yes, audience help. Anybody need to? Lucky Charms. Is it Lucky Charms? Yes, it's Lucky Charms. Give them a hand. All right, thanks for playing, guys. You guys get an extra dose of Tums. All right, let's give these guys a hand for helping us out. You guys ever had family feuds before? Family feuds. I'm going to share with you the top 5, like in my immediate family, the top 5 family fights that have taken place that are still etched in my memory. Number 1, what I call hairbrush stuck in the bathroom door fight. So my sisters, they're always fighting. I had 3 older sisters, and I never saw the inside of the bathroom until they all left. And, this is what the bathroom looks like. Dad made me go out back. And And they'd always fight about who would get in the shower or get there before they get ready for school. And of course, they'd never want to share the bathroom. And so, one time my sister books in there and locks the door. My other sister's all mad. And so she was so mad, she threw the hairbrush, went, bang, stuck in the door. Dad wasn't too happy about that. Next one is I remember my sister got really mad and she said, I'm going to run away from home. You've ever had kids that try to run away from home? And so she went and she's going to run away from home. And my parents were like, fine, okay, well, have fun. And so she says, fine. And so she took her little blankie and she got all her stuff piled up and she's like carrying it. My dad kind of watched her go out the back door and sneaked around the garage shop up there, and she was hanging out there. And so meanwhile, he sneaks over around the backside, and he saw her just kind of pouting in the back of our garage and just hanging out there, and he sneaks up on her and he grabs this big blanket and throws it around her and is like, I got you now. And then she started crying and screaming, I want my daddy! My other sister, she was getting so mad at my mom. My mom, she kind of had like poofy hair, she had, this kind of hairstyle. And I remember my sister was so angry at my mom. She was a teenager at the time, and she was so angry. And she knew she couldn't like get away with calling my mother names or anything like that. She's just like, you poof do. And we all started laughing, and that didn't really work the way that she wanted to. Number 4, I remember my sister and I were getting in a fight, and we were just I was so mad at her, and she just drove me crazy. And I can't remember what we fought about, but she had this, she got for Christmas, it was a doll, it was like a life-size doll. Her name was Susie Snowflake, and she was made out of material, right? And she was all stuffed, and it was the coolest thing, right? And so she always had her in bed, and it was Susie Snowflake. And I remember I was so angry at her, and I grabbed her Susie, and I ran into my room, and I was just like so angry, and I pretended like it was her, and I remember stepping on it and having this doll and just punching this doll, right? Until my foot, was holding her down, and I punched, and her feet ripped off. So I'm like, uh-oh. This fight just got more intense. And so what I did was, what any brother would do is I go, hey, let me think here. So she didn't know about it, so I went into her room and I rigged up so her feet were like stuck underneath her bed, like in her bed, and so I put her half of her body outside of my sister's bed, so she's laying on the floor, her ripped feet, but I kind of wedged them up there so when she pulled her out, she would rip the feet out and go, oh, what did I do? Didn't work. Got in trouble for that one. Ultimate though, number 1 has to be, one time my sister and I we were watching cartoons, and my parents were getting ready to go to a wedding. They were going to do a wedding. My dad was officiating this wedding, and so we were just hanging out on Saturday watching cartoons, and my sister wanted to watch Bugs Bunny, and I didn't want to watch Bugs Bunny. I wanted to watch Scooby-Doo. And Scooby-Doo was on Channel 8, and Bugs Bunny was on Channel 13. And that was before remote controls, the little dial. Remember those? And you could flip them really fast, too. Oh, awesome. Some of you kids don't even know what I'm talking about. And you had the knob for volume. Is that good, everybody? Hey, is that good? 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 Okay, all right. No, loud. Oh, okay, back and forth. And so we were fighting back and forth, so I'd go turn the knob and Scooby-Doo. And I'd sit back down, and she'd run up there and turn to Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny. And we'd go back and forth. And I'm like, knock it up. I want to watch Scooby-Doo. Finally, we had a bunch of National Geographics over here, and my sister picks one up, and she's like, I go up there, I turn around, she's throwing this National Geographic right in my face, right? And I'm like, oh, that kind of hurts. And I put my hand up to my face, I'm like, I can't really see, that's weird. And then I pull my hand away, and blood just went, she paper cutted me right underneath my eye. You can see a scar today. And I had to go get stitches. And I was just bleeding, and I ran upstairs. She's like, oh, you're just faking it. And she didn't see the blood yet. And I ran upstairs with my parents, and they're getting ready to go out the door. I'm like, Mom, I need to go to the doctor. And the blood's like, just freaking out. My mom was supposed to play piano in Oregon, so they were just like freaking. And then I got stitches, and she felt horrible. And one of those fights you'll never forget. And the thing is, relationships will break down when you're close to people. There's good times, there's bad times, and our call is a challenge is to continue to love, to reconcile where there's brokenness, to forgiveness. There's on one side, there's love and forgiveness and reconciliation. And the other side of the scale is hate, and the very far end of the scale is murder, which is actually going to talk about today. And even Billy and Ruth Graham. I love this when Ruth was asked, and maybe some of you guys heard this before, but Ruth was asked one time in an interview, and she said, man, have you ever fought with Billy? I mean, have you ever not just, got along? She goes, have you ever thought about divorce or anything like that? She goes, no, I've never contemplated divorce. Murder, yes. And so, I love, John's going to be real tonight. We're doing a series called Keeping It Real. We're going to continue in that series here tonight. But he's keeping it real, and he's keeping it real about relationships, because that's kind of what causes heartburn a lot of times, spiritually, what we're talking about. And so let's do the review to get everybody caught up. But there's 5 things we've been looking at, if that's up there. You guys have that? Yep. We're looking at real salvation, knowing 100% that if you died tonight, you'd spend eternity with God. Real living. Real Christians living 100% authentic. Real Savior, trusting Jesus 100%. And real love, being loved and loving other people. And so that's kind of where we're going. We're looking at the 3 paths. You guys, I'm going to go quickly tonight because I think all of you guys have been here. We've been looking at these paths. We got the dark path. That's the path that leads to death, eternal separation from God. That's people that don't want to have anything to do with God. They want to do it their way. They want to walk their way. And then there's the rose-colored path. Those people that say you can earn your way to God. There's a big scale, and in the end, hopefully, weighs it out. And then there's those that follow Jesus Christ, and those are on the light path. And it says, broad's the way that leads to destruction, narrow the way that leads to God. And Jesus says, I'm the way, the truth, and life. Nobody comes to God except through me. And he says that that's the only way. It's narrow, light path. And that's what we've been trying to focus on. Knowing 100% that we're on that path. Okay, and so we've been trudging through a lot of things. Last week we saw the invisible ink of sin. All right, anybody trick anybody with the invisible ink? She wasn't here. Yeah. And we're talking about invisible ink, and tonight we're talking about tongues. Dum-dum-dum. Let's read together. 1 John chapter 3, verses 11 through 15. Okay, you guys awake with me? Yeah. Got enough coffee? Okay. For this is the message you heard from the beginning. Have you noticed that John has said that a number of times? It's like, you guys, he keeps going back to the beginning. And some scholars don't like this book because he kind of jumps around a little. He's a little ADD. And he's going to come back to some stuff he's been talking about before. But there's a reason for that. For this message you've heard from the beginning, that we should love one another. Do not be like Cain, who belonged to the evil one and murdered his brother. And why did he murder him? Because his own actions were evil and his brothers were righteous. Do not be surprised, my brothers and sisters, if the world hates you. We're not supposed to be surprised. Verse 14. We know that we have passed from death to life because we love each other. Anyone who does not love remains in death. Okay, now he's going to get real here. Anyone who hates a brother or sister, talking about brothers and sisters in the church, believers, is a murderer. Wow. Anyone who hates his brother or sister is a murderer. That's pretty strong language. And you know that no murderer has eternal life residing in him. Wow. And he's been kind of letting loose the last couple weeks, right? And he's letting loose. Hopefully none of us are dealing with murder. And if you have, there's total redemption in Jesus Christ. At the same time, there's lots of consequences to that sin as well. I remember I was pastoring out in Montana, and we had one individual that was a former murderer and was released on prison and was still on probation and was part of our church. And just how God had redeemed his heart in prison. And there was another gal that came up to me, and I used to get weird requests for prayer. Nothing surprises me anymore. But she comes up to me, and she's like, hey, Pastor, can you pray for me? I'm like, yeah, sure, I'd love to pray for you. What's going on? You depressed? You need help? Where are you struggling? What's going on? And she's like, well, I think I'm going to jail for a while. I'm like, well, what's going on? She goes, well, last night my husband and I got in an argument. I stabbed him in the leg and hit an artery, and he bled to death, and he died. So can you pray for me? And I'm like, whoa, okay. Have you ever had one of those prayers that I had no idea what I said? Because the whole time I'm like, are you kidding me? Just for real? And I felt horrible. I'm like, what am I supposed to say? And sure enough, it was a real deal. And she goes, I didn't mean to kill him, and it happened. And just a total mess. And she actually dealt with that side of a broken relationship, which is the far extreme. Okay, we're talking about some extremes. On one extreme is murder. On the other side is love and forgiveness. And so John is challenging us. Man, look at even from the beginning. You heard that even Cain, he was on this side. And I'm telling you what, if you let that dark path keep going, it leads to murder. All right? The world hates Christians. Do you realize the father of murder is Satan? Do you realize that Satan wants all of us dead? He has a hit out on your life. If you are a believer, that Satan has targeted you and he wants to take you down for all eternity. He wants to murder your soul so you have no chance of eternal life. He wants to trap you in the dark path forever. Do you guys believe that? That's a scary thing. Thank the Lord that we have the power of Jesus. That's why he says he's given us all authority on earth. That even the name of Jesus can defend the enemy's plans and the things that he wants to take you out. He wants to take you out. He wants to ruin your life. He wants to destroy you. And the more times that people walk down the dark path, the more it will lead to eternal death and destruction. And that's who he is. He's a murderer. And he traps us. And the world will hate you. The world will hate Christians. And you're starting to see that. I mean, I never thought I'd see a day in America where it seems like if you're a Christian, people look upon you like you're a freak. Right? They look at us and like we're closed-minded. And I'm telling you what, the things that we say that Jesus is the only way to God, that's going to be labeled a hate crime. That we're hating other people and other religions. And I tell you what, that is happening in our country. Not to mention all the things around the world. And our response is everything, okay? It's all about tongues. When the world brings heartburn towards us, our response back is not hate. And this is something we've got to understand. When the world hates us, when the world mistreats us as Christians, when the world says that we're closed-minded, when the world does what it wants to do, we cannot respond as Christians with hate, but with love. Our response to everything has to be tongues, which is love. Okay? It soothes. And here's why he's trying to say that. And even in politics, man, this was a tough week. You know, it's like we got a polarized country. And whoever would have won, half the country would be angry the next morning, right? Wednesday morning, it didn't matter who was going to win, half was going to be angry. What is our response to the politics? What are the response to the things that are happening around us that we have no control over? It has to be love. Christians, we have the greatest weapon of love, and we rarely use it. Love for the heartburns, and we love to categorize sin, and I love this. John makes it real. He says something very profound. He says, if you hate, you're in the same category as a murder. I mean, the thing, I mean, I was angry at my sister before, but I never murdered her. But he's saying if I hate my sister, if I hate, it's the same thing in God's eyes. Now the consequences, the wreckage is different. If I was to kill my sister versus hating my sister, the wreckage, the result would have a lot more damage. The damage would be greater. But in God's eyes, a heart that is full of hate is no different than that of a murder. It's just a murder is just taking it one step more, but it's from the same source. That's pretty profound. And we love to categorize that. And the reality is Cain was not an atheist. He wasn't. In fact, he gave offerings to God. If you remember that story, he gave offerings to God. The problem was he had this relationship issue with God. The problem in America is starting with the church. We can look at all the politicians we want. We can look at all that's happening. I'm telling you what, we have a disunified country. But you know what? Look in the church. We have a disunified church. We have Christians that are not unified under the cross. We bicker, we fight, we split. We throw spiritual grenades at each other. And you know what we do? We use theology as a basis, our different interpretations of things as a way that we can disunify. And I'm telling you what, it's talking about we need to come together in love. And I'm telling you what, if the church would lead this country in learning how to love each other first and loving others outside this, I believe that's how order is restored in a culture. If we start doing our job, I believe that it spreads. And I believe that the great nation that we lived in, we had some great presidents who were godly men, but it was godly people. And it was the church that helped found this country. It was the Christians that got along, that took care of each other and worked through things. And the world has changed. And we're not a Christian nation anymore. Okay, we're not. I mean, that was pretty evident. We're not a Christian nation anymore. But Jesus never asked us to be crusaders. He never asked to be angry back at the world. What path we're on is how do we love other people? How do we love other believers? He already talked about, you guys remember he talked about this? How do you know what path you're on? He says how you love each other. And he comes back to this, so why is he repeating it? Why is he repeating it? It's because it's super important. And here's why we can't hate other believers. Why we can't have dissension among the church. You know why? Because think about it. When Christ comes back and takes us all to be with him in heaven, if we have dissensions, you can't have awkward moments in heaven. Can you imagine? You're walking and there's believers on both sides. They're like, ooh, avoid, 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 avoid. It's like having awkward girlfriend moments in heaven. They ain't going to be those. Have you ever had one of those awkward girlfriend moments? Or boyfriend moments? Yeah, I had some awkward moments before. Oh man, I had a relationship that went bad, to say the least. I dated this girl, and then I went back to Montana, and she was upset because I felt the Lord wanted me to stay there and help out this church in Montana, and she's back in Minnesota, and I was furnishing her entire apartment for all her. I had all the furniture for 5 girls, and we broke up, and it was not good because I got this call from a roommate one night. Hey John, yeah, you might want to come. Like, why? She's like, well, just come. I'm like, I'm in Montana. I can't go to Minneapolis like right now. She's like, no, you need to come. You know all your stuff? There's a big bonfire happening right now, and there's a lot of stuff that's getting chucked in that bonfire. Okay, I guess I'm going to Minnesota right now. Yeah, and there was a lot of hate in my heart, and I had to, I told the rest of it, I mean, you guys are keeping using stuff, and when you're done, and they're like, no, and I said, I don't need to live with my mom and dad. So I had to go pick up my stuff, and I remember that awkward moment where there's just like total hate, just like total, like just awkwardness of like, seeing her, trying to get the rest of my stuff, and it was just this awkward stuff. And it was like, and we dated for quite a long time, and I really cared about her, and we had this relationship, and it was hard. I mean, we broke up, and even, it was so cool, my wife knew the situation, and even when we got married, it was like, man, it just felt kind of awkward. And bless my wife's heart, like I actually, she's like, maybe you just need to just like make sure everything's cool, because it was just like such a bitter thing. And for like a year when we were first even married, it's like, she's like, hey, we need to go buy this. I'm like, no, I got it. And they're like, no, that's the bonfire. And even it was like about a year after we got married, and it was the awkwardness, and my wife even suggested, she said, you know what, why don't you just go talk to her? And so we had coffee and just kind of like worked out the awkwardness. So you know what, I didn't want to leave with that hate in my heart, and I didn't want to put that on her, and so she could go on in her life without that hate. And I remember having this conversation, and it was the worst of the worst, but I remember having coffee with her and just saying, you know what, I just want you to know that I just don't want there to be this ugliness, that I just want to bless you in your way. I'm happy, I'm where I'm at, I want you to be happy and where you're at, and I just want to just release that, because she was a believer, she was a Christian, and it was a cool thing. We were able to part ways, and it was an awesome thing. I mean, it was like it could have gone really weird and continued to be weird, because the reality is she's going to be in heaven, and that could be a very awkward experience for us in heaven. Yeah, it's like you're up in heaven, and the Lord's like, where was that robe I gave you? The Lord was on the bonfire. So we gotta start thinking about who in your life could be awkward for eternity. I mean, let's just be honest. And I'm not saying that there's some relationships that I'm not saying to go back in the same relationship you were in, but at the same time we can't hold that stuff in our heart. And John is saying that. He's saying you can't hold that in your heart. And then let's read on. This is what he says. We can't have these awkward moments. In 1 John chapter 3, verses 16 and 18. This is how we know what love is. He's talking about love. Jesus Christ laid down his life for us, and we ought to lay down our lives for our brothers and our sisters. If anyone has material possessions and sees a brother or sister in need, but has no pity on them, how can the love of God be in that person? Ouch. That was a tough one. Dear children, let us not love with words or speech, but with actions and in truth. Wow. He's laying it out thick. He's saying, listen, how can you guys call yourself Christians? Brothers and sisters referring to Christians. He said, if there's people in need, if there's other people, especially the church, he's starting with the church here. He said, if there's anybody in need, Man, have you ever, and it's like that Christ laid down his life for us. He took the bullet for us. Have you ever heard that phrase, man, I'll take the bullet for you, right? Have you ever heard that? Somebody asked you to do that? Yeah, that's one of those questions that your wives ask you. Along with, these are one of those questions you just tread lightly, You newlyweds, I'm giving you some marital advice up here, okay? Man, there's like 5 questions that she asked that you just freak out about, but I'm going to give you this one you're gonna be able to answer tonight. But the first one is like, do these jeans make my rear look big? Man, dudes, don't flinch, don't move, don't say a word. You can't win that one, right? And then the other one is like, hey, what movie do you want to watch? Do you want to watch, whatever she suggests is the movie that you're going to want to watch? And you always say, I don't care. I love Audrey Hepburn. Oh, it's awesome. Black and whites. Yeah. Of course. And then this one, I can't stand this one. I kind of lock up because you can't win. And every time I think that I'm smart enough to answer this question, and guys, you will never be smart enough. We will never be smart enough to answer this question. And the question is, hey, honey, I'm just thinking, if I died, would you be married? And who? It's like, check, please. Man, you can't win that one, and you start trying to do it because it's a trap. It's a trap. Just get out. Be like, no, I didn't know how to answer that, and so, And then this one, would you take a bullet for me? And you can answer yes. But then I started thinking about it. I'm like, I can answer yes because there's no way that I can actually do this. Because if you think about the practical part of this, okay, so let's walk around and somebody, puts sights on my wife and shoots a gun at her. I can gladly say that, I'll take a bullet. At least I'll try to take a bullet from you. But bullets are fast. There's no way I can outrun a bullet, right? I mean, let's be serious. So at least I can say, yes, honey, I would take a bullet. Because if she takes a bullet and she drops, and then I can jump. But I'm going to be late every time. But if she changed the question and say, hey, would you take a sword for me? I'd have to take some thought because I could probably jump in front of a sword. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, I could do that one, but I don't know about a bullet. So here's the deal. We're going to talk about bullets. There's some things that aren't obvious, and there's obvious, but there's things that aren't obvious. The swords, okay? If needs are obvious, then we need like a sword, okay? We need to help one another, okay? Helping is not an option. I remember I was in Minnesota for Christmas one time at my in-laws' church. And it was a Christmas Eve service. And this one guy got up there and said, hey, there's a family that's stranded for Christmas. And they have no money, they have nothing. And they're like, if anybody would like to give, I'll be right over here. And we would like to just bless them here on Christmas Eve. And I remember, I got up and the service ended. And I remember seeing this guy. Nobody came up to him. And I remember in my pocket, and I'm bragging about just the thing that happened in my mind. It's like, it was Christmas time, we're traveling, and I had cash. Of course, I had cash. I was traveling, and I had money in my pocket, and I remember going, and there was nobody like helping him out, and I was like, and I remember debating, should I give or should I not? And there's cash in my pocket, and then the Lord spoke to me and said, when did love become an option? When did giving become an option to us? And I actually wrote a song, if you guys have any of our CDs, but it's called Option of Love. When did love become an option? And given to needs. And it's like, it's not an option. It's like we have to reach out. We have to keep giving, especially in the church, okay? It says especially in the church. Now, here's the huge question, because people ask me, and I ask the same question of myself a lot. When God lays people on our hearts to help, and this is a very giving community, man. This is a giving community. But the question that I've been posed, and I ask, at what point do you keep giving to somebody? Have you ever asked that question? Maybe you've given to, and you pour it out to some people, and at what point do you keep giving? At what point do you stop giving? Well, number one, if there are needs in the church, if there are needs in our bodies as our brothers and sisters, we have to take care of each other. Okay? But there comes a point, there is a fine line. There is a fine line between helping and then also enabling if they have other things that are going on. And man, we've wrestled with this over the past, all the churches that I've been a part of in terms of benevolence, because people come to the church when they need help. And I've been a part of helping hundreds of people through the church and through giving and reaching out. And for example, I struggle with people in the church and they want to help. They need help and we've had people, so we used to have this like benevolence application where people would fill it out. And if they're struggling with addiction issues, those are things that we can help them with money and they could put food, but if they're struggling with drugs or alcohol, it's like that we're just enabling the situation and we want to help them walk through those struggles. All right? The other thing, there was a family that couldn't even put food on their table. They couldn't even feed their children, but yet they had the satellite dish and they made sure that payment was being made every month. And that's enabling. That's not helping. And I believe that God's now calling us to help people that make choices that aren't healthy for their family, for them. And so the church is called to help, but we're also here to help teach people in what's proper stewardship of their money. And what priorities. And we've actually sat down as financial counselors. We've actually been a part, and we assign different accountants in the church to say, hey, will you help people with their finances? We're out to give you money, but we're going to help you process and walk through that and to be better stewards with your money. But there was another situation. We had a family that they had a little ranch in Montana, and they had a big barn, and they were getting ready for winter to feed all their animals, and they had all their hay in one spot, and fire broke out, and they lost all their hay. And they came to us, and they're like distraught. And so we as a board met, and we sat down. We're like, okay, is our bills paid this month? Okay. How much money do we have left in our checking or savings account? And it was thousands of dollars, and we said, okay, let's all in favor write the check. And we cleaned our bank account out to zero, and we gave them it all. Because they needed it. That's what the church is called to do. And you know what? They needed it. And we had to help them out. It wasn't really an option if we were supposed to help or not. We were supposed to help. They're part of our body. They were suffering. They didn't have insurance to back it up. They were going to lose everything if we didn't help them buy some hay to feed their animals. And that's the thing. It's like we got to struggle. We got to be careful. I remember this one time as a little boy, and my dad was a pastor, and so he dealt with this. I remember calls all the time. They'd always call our house asking for money. One time I was at the church, and this guy came in, and he was asking my dad for some gas money. He had this big story, and he asked me to leave, and so he was sitting in his office, and I was sitting outside, and I don't think he saw me, but I was sitting over here, and the guy comes out. And after he comes out, he's running out of the car, and he's just waving the $20 like, they fell for it, I got it. Jumps in the car with all his buddies and takes off. Like they made up the story and got $20 out of the church. And I remember seeing that and just going, Dad, man, did you hear what they just said? He goes, we just got to use discernment. We got to use the Holy Spirit. When it says brothers, it's the same word meaning believers. We're needed to help. We're required to help. Man, it's saying two things. It's saying when we deal with relationships, we can't hate, which is like murder, that's on the far, but we can't ignore either. We can't ignore things that are going on. And I pray that we can have open eyes as a church. Not only see the needs. Now, there's a question, what about those outside? What about those outside of the body? What are those outside? Because it says that we're supposed to help each other here, but we have to use discretion out here, and that's why I really believe we got to pray for the Holy Spirit. When there are people that are outside our doors, outside our church, need our help, I believe that we have to look at that seriously, but I also have to say, Holy Spirit, are you asking us to help? In what ways can we help? What ways can be most effective? Is just throwing money going to really help them, or do they have a spiritual deal that they need to work through, and we can walk them with them through that? And that's an important thing. And then let's read on in 1 John chapter 3:19. He moves on and talks more about this. This is how we know that we belong to the truth and have set our hearts at rest in His presence. Are we there? Verse 20. If our hearts condemn us, we know that God is greater than our hearts, and He knows everything. Dear friends, if our hearts do not condemn us, we have confidence before God and receive from Him anything we ask. Right? We need help in discernment. Because we keep His commands and do what He pleases Him. And this is His command, to believe in the name of His Son, Jesus Christ, and to love one another as He commanded us. And the one who keeps God's commands lives in Him, and He in them. And this is how we know that he lives in us. We know it by the Spirit he gave us. Why love and why give is because if you want to have another evidence of what path you're on, the people that are on the light path are generous and love other people. There's no haters on this path. The assurance of what path you're on is light people. It says be an answer to prayer. It's doing the basics. I love he goes back to the basics all the time. Love God, love other people. Jesus even said this. Love God, love other people. Want to break it down? Love God, love other people. If you want to know what path you're on, are you loving God? Are you loving other people? It's that simple. And I love why he comes back to this. You're not always going to get along, especially with the family. Man, I mean, we've been on a long journey. We haven't even been on this journey a year at Recharge Church, right? And you know what? We started this with our family. You know, we've had to go through some stuff, some growing pains, even as a family, even at Recharge. And look what God's been doing because we're working it through. All right? Family, we're not all going to get along all the time. And this is the sad part that happens in churches is that if something happens in a church, the family of believers, I'm talking not just relatives, but I'm talking, this is our family. Recharge, this is our family. And we need to help each other, and we're here for each other, and we lift each other up. But you know what? What happens is if we have conflicts and what's going on in the church, and this is why the breakdown's happening, is that we just go to the next church. And if that doesn't work, we go to the next church. Man, I love Pastor Erbele. You know why? Because we believe that we're working together to reach Streeter in this community for Jesus Christ. And we communicate, because there's people that will come back and forth, and it's like, you know what? I don't care if people go to that church, to the Methodist church, because I know where Elmo's heart's at, and Pastor Erbele, and we bless one another. I just want to know that people are going somewhere, and if they go somewhere, they should be part of that family, and that family, we need to stick together, and if things are bad, you need to keep working that through, because that's what love is. And you're missing the blessings of reconciliation, and we're not understanding how to reconcile and work through that. So 2 questions I want to leave, and I want to close with a story. 2 questions tonight is, who gives you heartburn in your life? Is there somebody in your life, maybe in your past, maybe in something that relationship just keeps burning? I want you to pray about that. Especially if they're a believer, I want you to pray, because we don't want to have awkward moments in heaven, do we? Maybe it's a card, maybe it's a call. You know, as I was writing this message, there's a person I need to call. I'm dreading the call. I'm just going to be honest with you. But I know it's what God's telling me to do. To give this person a call. You know, I think they should call me. They should be the bigger person. I've done all I can, and you know what? I need to make that call just to release that in my heart. I do. And maybe there's someone that you need to release in your heart too. Because you can't have heartburn on this path. Secondly, if there's somebody in need, we need to help them out. There's a gift box back here. And here's the challenge for between now and Christmas is what we're going to be doing is there's a number of people that have needs in this community. And not only in our church, but outside these walls as well. And so I want you guys we're going to call it the gift card challenge to help people, okay? And I believe this is the best way than giving people cash is to give them gift cards for things that they might need, all right? So here's the challenge. Maybe if you're filling your truck up at the co-op this week, go and ask them for a gift certificate for $5-10, all right? Just above whatever you're doing, and just $5-10. When you're in a Walmart checkout line, just get a Walmart card for $5 or $10 more. And maybe if you're at the street or grocery store, just get a little gift card for $5 or $10. You know, they all light up if we all put it together. And we're going to what I want to do is to have a box that we can go to when people are in need, that we could say, hey, here's some gift cards. If you need food, go to the street or grocery store. We want to take care of you. If you don't have gas, here's some gift cards from our church that we just want to help you out. And because there's needs that we have to help people. And so that's the challenge for you guys. So if you guys are, out, maybe it's this, friend's restaurant, just, hey, another gift card for $10 or something like that. Wherever you guys go where people have needs, Walmart, gas stations, things like that. Even if it's $5, $10, just a little bit more. If we just all did a little bit, it would be a huge thing to help bless people in this community. And for helping us with our benevolence down the road. So that's the challenge. I close with a story. It was a Christmas Eve. It was actually the last Christmas Eve that I was in Montana. And about 6 months later we moved. But it was our last Christmas Eve service, and we had a big Christmas Eve service. We usually had 3 services, but we combined it into one. We're getting all ready, and I had the band. We were practicing with the band and getting everything set up. And we couldn't do candles, so we did glow sticks. It's kind of cool. We had glow sticks ready to go. And expecting about 2,000 people, anywhere from 1,500 to 2,000 people would show up, and we're all getting excited, and this homeless guy comes walking in, and just disheveled, and it was snowing, it was cold out, and he comes in, and I jump down, just like, he comes up the stage, and man, he smelled so bad, and his hair was just tattered and knotted, and it was just nasty, and I said, hey, can I help you? And he was a picture-perfect hobo or, homeless guy. If you saw, it was like he smelled, he looked unbelievable, and he walked in our church. He's right here, man. It's like Christmas Eve, man. I'm like wearing a tie for the first time ever, It's like I'm trying to impress people here. Like married or buried or Christmas Eve, I might throw on a tie, And he comes up to me, and I'm like, well, can I help you, sir? And he said, what's your name? He said, my name's John. I'm like, well, my name's John too. And we kind of hit it off at that moment. And I'm like, wow. It's kind of one of those moments you didn't want to approach him, and it's like he smelled so bad. And he said, man, I said, what do you need? Do you need something? And he's like, yeah, I just need some food, and can I just warm up for a little bit? It's so cold out there. I'm like, well, of course you can. And so I jumped off the stage and went back into we had a skate park and a youth center, and they had some fridge, and they always had like hot dogs and nachos and stuff in the fridge. So I'm just loading some stuff up, and I gave it to him, and at the youth room, and then he said, when we're walking back out, and he said, thank you, can I ask one? He goes, what's happening tonight? I'm like, well, having a Christmas Eve service, and it's going to be starting here in a little bit, and people coming in, and I said, you're more welcome to stay. He goes, no. He goes, I'll leave here in a little bit. And I said, well, why? He said, well, I'm not really dressed for church. And I said, well, that's okay. You can come anyways, and we'd love to have you. And he didn't feel comfortable, and yet he sat there. And I said, no, just sit here, man. You'll be fine. Okay, you'll be fine. And he sat down, and no one sat by him. We had a little break time as well, and no one really talked to him. And he was rank, man. He was just nasty. And I remember after the service, it's like we all want to rush home. We do presents, we do our own thing, and everybody, right after the Christmas Eve service, nobody stays around. That's why we kind of had the break. But everyone just goes and does their thing, and here he was. We're cleaning up and ready to go, and he was just still sitting there. And after the service, and I jumped down, and the Lord told me and I know it was the Lord that told me. It was the Spirit, and that's what John was saying. The Spirit tells you these things when you need to help, when you need to love. And when you need to love the unlovely, it's really hard. And the Lord told me to give him a hug. And I'm like, Lord, come again? Squeeze me? He said, give him a hug. I'm like, Lord, I don't want to give him a hug. Lord, do you know how bad he smells? And I did this thing with mine. I said, give him a hug. And I'm like, I was wrestling. I'm like, I don't want to do that. That's weird, man. And it's like he's going to think I'm a freak. And what if he's, one of those guys that has a gun? And what if this? All his mind. And it's like he smells. I don't want to get close to him. I got nice clothes on. And I just want to go home, open my little presents, and have my little family time. He says, give him a hug, John. And I gave him a hug. And I think my heart melted more than his. And it was one of those long hugs. And I felt this tension in him as I hugged him, and the tension just went away. And he smelled so bad. It was the most awful, beautiful hug I've ever had. Everything inside me wanted to push him away, and everything that was right and holy wanted me to keep holding on. And that's exactly the tension that John's talking about here. Because in life, there are people that we want to push away. And sometimes we have every right to. But the Spirit's saying, hang on. The world doesn't know what that means. And I'm telling you what he melted, man. It's like, I don't even know the last time he probably had physical contact with somebody. And I said, what are you doing tonight? He said, I'm just trying to find a place. And I looked down, man. His toes are coming through his shoes. I can see his toes. And I'm like, well, do you have a coat? No, I don't have a coat. Do you have any gloves? No. Do you have any food? No. Do you have a place to stay? No. So thank the Lord Walmart's open on Christmas Eve. And I remember walking up to the cash register, and I was like, we just went shopping, man. It's like the best Christmas Eve memory I've ever had was hanging out with homeless John. And we bought him shoes, and I'm like, hey, just pick out any shoes you want. Pick out dress shoes. I'm like, oh, okay, I'd have gone for these boots over here, but we'll go dress shoes. That's cool. That's cool. We'll go in style. That's awesome. We got style. That's cool. And got him clothes, and I remember going up there, and I remember the people at the, because I was right behind him, and the lady at the cash register was just, looking through those judgmental eyes like I did, and I'm no hero, by the way, because the things that I was wrestling in my mind are shameful, and yet she was saying the same thing. I'm like, he's with me, and we got him a place to stay. And invited him over, but he didn't want to. He said, no, I just want to be, I just want to hang out. And the shelter wasn't open, and so we put him up at a hotel and hung up with him till late and said goodnight. And man, the next week, homeless John sat there every Sunday with the coolest shoes, man. The coolest shoes in the world. And I've never told this story, but months later, he never missed a Sunday. Months later, and every Sunday I hugged on him. And God began to soften his heart and change his life. Started making steps and started changing and was looking for work, and we were helping him out, getting him on this path, and because that's the people we're called to love. It's the ones we're supposed to know where they're at, how we can help them. And I pray someday that I'll see them again. See the people on the path of light are willing to hug the unhuggable. We can only do that if we take the tongues of love and quench the hate and the stuff that we want to push away, so we can fully help people. Let's pray.
I walk another mile and through another season, headed in with Jesus' word we're receiving, confessing our sin. We are forgiven and walking in the light, it's harder to stumble. Dealing with reality makes you humble. Love not in speech, but through our actions. Keeping it real without rose-colored glasses. Living in the light without the dark distractions. This is love. That he first loved, and I don't know what I would do without his affection. Lavishes at us with magnetic attraction. This is love. That he first loved us. If anyone acknowledges that Jesus is the Savior, they become his children and he gives them his favor. Ask of him and it will be given. So love one another without judge or pretense. Going on the offense is the best defense. Search your heart so it beats in freedom. Keeping it real without rose-colored glasses. Living in the light without the dark distractions. This is love. That he first loved, and I don't know what I would do without his affection. Lavishes at us with magnetic attraction. This is love. first loved us. He first loved us. He first loved us. He first loved us. Love. He first loved us. He first loved us. He still loves us. Take a deep breath and plunge into Jesus. Hold to the one who will never leave us. I am His. Oh, I am His. I am His. And He is mine. Keeping it real with the rose-colored glasses. Living in the light without the dark distractions. This is love. That at first He first loved, and I don't know what I would do without His affection. Lavishes in us with magnetic attraction. This is love. That at first He first loved us. Keeping it real with the rose-colored glasses. Living in the light without the dark. He first loved. This is love. He first loved us. He still loves us.